For decades, Bigfoot has captured the imagination of the public, a giant creature said to roam North America's forests. But what does the evidence actually show? From casts into mud to grainy photographs, the search for proof has been relentless, yet inconclusive. Tonight, we explore the facts, the theories, and the truth behind the legend. Long before modern expeditions and grainy photos, the forests and mountains of the Pacific Northwest were home to stories of large, mysterious forest dwellers, beings who walked between the trees, long before the term Bigfoot was ever coined. Indigenous people of the region, notably the Coast Salish and neighboring tribes, used the word Saskats, or now known as Sasquatch, to describe a powerful, hairy, wild man of the woods. The Sasquatch was not merely a beast but carried spiritual connotations, a protector of the land, a messenger between the human world and the spirit world. In many stories, the creature appeared as a warning rather than simply a foe, especially when humans failed to respect the balance of nature. Other legends depict hidden villages of hairy people or non-humans who live deep in the mountains, avoiding contact with humankind. The same groups who told stories of Bigfoot, the forest guardian, also believed that they had found bones of giants that once roamed the same region. Massive femurs, skull fragments, and teeth unearthed from riverbeds and hillsides were thought to be proof of an ancient, human-like beings. But as time went on, scientists discovered those bones belonged to not giants or wild men, but to prehistoric megafauna, creatures like the mastodon, mammoth, or giant ground sloth that walked these lands long before us. It's easy to look back and call these early people mistaken, but that misses the point. They weren't ignorant, they weren't stupid, they just interpreted the world with the tools and knowledge that they had. These were intelligent, adaptable, and resilient humans. When they didn't understand something, they didn't shrug it off, they gave it a meaning. They built stories that helped them explain what they saw and protect themselves from what they feared. For them, everything in nature had a purpose, every sound, every footprint, every shadow between the trees. And when they uncovered massive bones unlike anything alive around them, their minds connected it to what they did know. The legends of towering beings in the forests. In truth, they weren't discovering monsters, they were discovering echoes of a lost world. With their imagination, their instinct to fill the unknown with meaning is what defines us as a species. From the shelters we built to keep us warm, to the myths we told to keep safe, humanity has always found a way to adapt, to survive, and to make sense of the things we can't explain. But the forests of the Pacific Northwest have a long memory, and every generation seems to hear something in those trees, a whisper, a shadow, a movement that refuses to fade. In 1967, two men followed that whisper into the woods near Bluff Creek and came back with a reel of film that would change the legend forever. Roger Patterson wasn't a scientist or a filmmaker betrayed. He was a rodeo rider and a horse trainer from Yakima, Washington. A man who'd spent most of his life under open skies, surrounded by the stories of the Pacific Northwest. For years, Patterson had been obsessed with the idea of Bigfoot. In 1966, he wrote a book titled Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist? The book was a niche, low distribution work. No mainstream publisher wanted to touch it, likely because the subject seemed absurd. Patterson paid for the printing himself, and it achieved minimal commercial success, though today it is considered a collector's item. By the fall of 1967, Patterson convinced his friend and fellow horseman, Bob Gimlin, to accompany him on one last search for evidence in the forests of northwest California. The two men rode horseback into the dense woods near Bluff Creek, an area already known for strange tracks and whispered sightings. Patterson carried a rented 16mm camera, the most advanced tool he could afford, hoping to capture what countless others had only described. Then, on October 20th, 1967, fate, or something stranger, crossed their path. A large, bipedal figure emerged from the creek bed, striding steadily away before turning briefly towards the camera. In just 59 seconds of film, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin created one of the most iconic and controversial images in modern folklore. To some, it was proof at last, the physical evidence that the stories were real. To others, it was nothing more than a clever hoax shot by a pair of dreamers chasing a legend. But whether genuine or staged, the Patterson-Gimlin film reignited humanity's oldest impulse, the need to believe that there is still some mystery left in the world. But is there? Scientists and professors examined the video, frame by frame, and what they found was something no one was expecting. Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State University, has spent years studying alleged Bigfoot footprint casts. He once said, quote, "Given the scientific evidence that I have examined, I'm convinced there is a creature out there that is yet to be identified." End quote. Dr. Grover Krantz, a physical anthropologist at the University of Washington, dedicated much of his career to analyzing the Patterson-Gimlin film. He famously said, quote, "Sasquatch is ridiculous, but the alternative of a hoaxer is impossible. Therefore, the ridiculous must be true." End quote. He believed the film showed muscle movement too natural to be produced by any costumes available at the time. Believers point out that the arms are too long to be human, the tracks left behind, the movement of muscle visible in the reel, and the stride of each step being too long for a human to have made it. But while the debate raged on over what the film showed, life for Patterson and Gimlin was moving in a very real, very human direction. The footage created both fame and conflict, and soon the story wasn't just about the creature in the woods. It was about the men who captured it, the disputes that followed, and the very real consequences. By 1967, Patterson faced financial strain. With debts piling up and the book not selling, he borrowed money for a planned Bigfoot film project. Days before the Bluff Creek encounter, the rental company sought legal action because Patterson had kept the camera past its due date. He also struggled with serious illness, reportedly Hodgkin's disease, giving him only a few years, which may have heightened his urgency to achieve a breakthrough. A few years to take care of his family, a few years to make memories, and a few years to find Bigfoot. But what if he could do all that in one? Philip Morris was not just a costume maker, he was a performer, magician, and an entrepreneur. In the late 1960s, his company, Morris Costumes of Charlotte, North Carolina, produced realistic gorilla and ape suits for the stage and carnival circuits. According to Morris, in 1969, he sold such a suit to Roger Patterson, a mail-order transaction, what Patterson has described as a prank. Morris, many years later, claimed Patterson returned, asking how to make the arms longer and shoulders bulkier. Morris says his suit is one seen in the famous Bluff Creek film. While the company went on to become one of the largest costume distributors in the US, still open to this day, receiving nothing but backlash for such claims. Bob Hieronymus, a rodeo rider and a friend of Roger Patterson from Yakima, said that he had been inside the suit. He described the costume in detail, a two-piece design that zipped up the back, covered in lawn synthetic fur, and reinforced to make movement appear natural. Hieronymus explained how he could walk and stride in the suit, giving the illusion of a massive bipedal creature, using shoulder pads to make the creature appear bigger, and sticks around the arms to make them appear longer. Patterson's finances were also precarious. He defaulted on loans, including one with a couple named the Radfords. He had disputes over the camera rental fees, which led to a warrant. Profit sharing with Bob Gimlin reportedly became continuous after the film. Gimlin was apparently fully pushed out of the deal, receiving absolutely nothing from the money generated by the reel he helped create. Patterson's personal and financial pressure, combined with his illness and obsessive focus on Bigfoot, created a plausible scenario in which he may have orchestrated a hoax. Now let's examine the footage itself. The figure walks upright, glances towards the camera, has long arms and a distinctive gait. Supporters argue that the biomechanics are too sophisticated for 1967 costume, citing realistic muscle movement for the stride length. But that is just false. The stride varies on many factors, including the slope of the land, the apparent distance of the camera, and more. Someone in the suit could easily be wearing something on their feet to make them appear larger, and therefore having longer strides. That would also fit the other documented claims of the suit being altered to appear larger. Someone that is 6 foot or 182 centimeters or taller would be able to reproduce this. The hands appear to have zero movement in the entire video, which doesn't help with its authenticity, and it would be extremely hard to pull off if the arms had sticks inside them. The muscle on the thigh that people point at as muscle contractions seems to be some form of a fabric flap that occurs while walking. As far as I am familiar, no muscle in a human or ape body has that form of contraction. Experts claim that the illusion of muscle movement can be attributed to the low quality of the reel provided by the duo. The glutes appear very large and stuffed. They have no movement to them in the entire clip, which also does not help the authenticity. And to be honest, it makes it look a bit silly. Skeptics claim that a glare in one of the eyes is also visible and a belt buckle, but I have no reliable proof to show that on here. No body, no bones, or DNA have ever been found. Years later, subsequent searches in Bluff Creek, the epicenter of the Bigfoot lore, yielded tracks of hair, but none could be conclusively attributed to an unknown primate. For a species that would be 7 to 8 feet tall, it is highly improbable that only one single 59-second video would exist. The hairs that have been found and unable to be identified are likely because of the DNA degradation and long-term exposure to the harsh elements. Tracks found are not conclusive and could easily be faked. There have been fake tracks made by pranksters, hoaxers, or people who just wanted to mess with other people. Tracks are not a reliable form of proof since they could easily be faked, including arches and dermal ridges. On screen, I will provide to you a few photos of prints that have been reportedly faked and some that are still claimed to be true. Are you able to notice the difference between them? Probably not. Very easy to fake and not conclusive. All other evidence remains circumstantial or anecdotal. The film stands alone, making it more plausible from a scientific standpoint that the footage was staged, or at very least, inconclusive. The film inspired decades of Bigfoot research, yet despite numerous expeditions, the scientific community has found no corroborating evidence. The combination of Patterson's personal pressures, health struggles, financial disputes, and prior interest in Bigfoot creates a compelling and conclusive case for skepticism. The Patterson-Gimli film remains iconic, tantalizing, and controversial. It captures our imagination, a mysterious, fleeting glimpse of something unknown. But when viewed critically, considering the historical context, personal motives, and lack of corroborating evidence, skepticism is not only warranted, it is essential. There have been other claims of Bigfoot evidence later on used by people who want to make money off of it. From trees bent a certain way to trees falling on top of each other or being found upside down in the woods have all perfectly normal explanations. The bent trees they use are either animal activity, human activity, or weather phenomena. And as for the shelters found, mostly just dead trees falling on each other, getting wedged, and having more of a surface on which other trees can fall on top of, making it seem like a shelter made by an intelligent creature. The trees found upside down are just surveying markers or logging markers, since the trees will stay there for a long time and are resistant to weather, and very abundant. And some even speculate it could be markers for graves. The legend of Bigfoot spawned a whole industry, TV shows, books, tours, and merchandising that thrive on the possibility of a mystery rather than the reality of proof. The motive today often isn't discovering, it's attention, revenue, and the new headline. These people are not here to tell the truth. They are out here to gain clicks, views, revenue. They always claim that they have seen or heard things, but they always appear to be out of frame. Always fragments of the picture and never the full picture. Just enough to lure you in for the next episode, but not enough to break the illusion. I mean, I'm not saying that there are no such things in the world as Bigfoot. I have my own strange encounters and experiences that I cannot explain and probably never will. I do believe there are things out there that we cannot explain, but I don't think this is one of those things, and neither do they. Think for yourself, base your beliefs on your own experiences, and don't let them tell you what is real and what is not. If real evidence does pop up one day, it's because of people like that it won't be taken seriously. Whether genuine or staged, the Patterson Gimlin film reignited humanity's oldest impulses, the need to believe that there is still some mystery left in the world.